Hello everyone, welcome to an analysis of dance where we discuss the movements and debuts of the Billboard Hot Dance charts in immaculate detail, with in-depth reviews of each debut each week. Seriously, what is going on this year? I could point to the past 5 weeks as proof that 2023 has been a complete goddamn mess of surprises, random debuts, and a general feeling of instability on the dance charts, but this week feels like it takes that extra step. Not only do we get 3 top 10 debuts, we also got a huge influx of new arrivals, including a mini album bomb of cover songs from a masked DJ who not only has never charted before, but got this album bomb off a 51 track album. Seriously. To me, this just feels like a week where the majority of the debuts won't matter long term, kind of important because this week wasn't particularly good. Also unfortunate, as I'm Good Blue by David Guetta and BB Rexha is stable at number 1, although it's really starting to slow down across the board, long overdue. BZAP Music Sessions Volume 53 by BZAP and Shakira seems to be actually doing okay and streaming at number 2, but the radio is stalling out way too early for my liking, quite frankly. And that actually opens the door for 1035 by Tiesto featuring Tate McRae at number 3, which has better radio but weaker streaming, albeit on the rise, which is a good sign. Unfortunately, Hold Me Closer by Elton John and Britney Spears isn't going away anytime soon at number 4, as although radio is still there, it's not dying fast enough for anything to really challenge. Case in point, Trust Fall by Pink at number 5, which doesn't really have that much radio at the moment, so streaming's really what's keeping this alive, and knowing Pink's history in that format, I can see this falling back once it stalls out there. But on the total opposite end, the first of our 3 debuts in the top 10 this week, and one that I'm not surprised at all debuted this high, El Merengue by Marshmello and Manuel Turizo at number 6. Now this has huge streaming as you'd expect, but with radio not on board in average sales, I don't see this lasting at this spot, although I do see this sticking around on sound alone. We'll get to it later on. What this did do was knock back Miss You by Oliver Tree and Robin Schulz at number 7, but really that's not surprising given the complete lack of radio and streaming starting to finally go away with this one. Same deal with Metamorphosis by Intward at number 8, which is relying far too hard on slipping streaming, where I don't see this lasting much longer, especially with what's likely to debut above it next week. We'll get to that later on. But then we have our second top 10 debut, and one I see having a ton of real staying power, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Where You Are by John Summer and Hayla at number 9. Now I'm not remotely surprised this debuted high, it's got fantastic streaming, but it's also fascinating to see the sales and airplay be so strong with this one that it got so high on its first week. Fantastic news for John Summer and Hayla, with this being both artists' highest charting song to date, and given what I'll have to say about the song later on, you'll know why this is absolutely phenomenal news. Oh, and rearing the end, we also got another top 10 debut, this one more expected, being Here We Go Again by Oliver Tree and David Guetta at number 10, which has massive streaming but no airplay and only okay sales. If there's a debut this week I see falling out of the top 10 come next week, it's this. Now we get to our falls and fall-offs, and really there's none of note in our fall-offs, mostly being weaker songs or Skrillex leftovers. So yeah, let's move on to our falls, where Skrillex dominated here once again as the chart resets to normality. Summertime with Kid Cudi thankfully nosedive to 43, Way Back with Pink Pantheress and Trippie Redd hit 37, Leave Me Like This with Bobby Raps only took a small fall to 32, and even Rumble with Fred Again and Flowdan took a minor hit to 15, although you could point to the high debuts as the reason for that one. Outside of that, expected falls of the debut for Next to You by Loud Luxury, Doves and Kane Brown thankfully down to 21, and Hopeful by Vesser at 38, but the rest were all over the place. I mean, there's expected continued falls like Sacrifice by KX5 and Sophie Tucker at 36, and Saturday Sunday by Jason Derulo and David Guetta at 34, as well as Ava Max seeing $1 Million Baby at 22, and One of Us really down hard to 49. The one remaining fall is Food for the Soul by It's Murph off its gains last week down to 25. Quite frankly, I'm amazed it's holding this strong, but different conversation. Hopefully it's actually able to stick around. But our jumps and comebacks, wow, these are quite not particularly good. I mean, Edge of 17 by Wookie is the only return at 46, and in our jumps, Hero by Martin Garrix and Jake surged up to 17, as it looks set to stick around and continue annoying the hell out of those who actually expected better from Martin Garrix in 2023. But yeah, wow, that was quick. How about we get to our 11 debuts this week, starting off with number 50, Feels This Good by Sigala, May Muller, Caity Besa, and Stefflon Don. Man, it it feels like Sigala's run in the United States has just come and gone so fast. I mean, I remember when this guy was getting hit after hit, and it seems like outside of All By Myself, he's just not been catching a break this past year, just barely managing to scrape onto the very bottom with this cut from his upcoming album Every Cloud. But man, I get why this didn't do well, because it's a complete mess. Muller at least sounds decent here. She fits the upbeat vibes of the production, which had at least some bit of potential with the rising synths on the first hook, which immediately goes to crap as the drop start, where the mixing is just strange. Muller sounds way too loud, the bass overpowers the whole mix, and the backing vocals are mixed nearly as loudly as the lead. For someone who makes such clean mixes the majority of the time, this sounds really clunky. Combine that with Caity bass, her sounding completely bored and not matching the vibe at all, and Stefflon Don trying her best Megan Thee Stallion impression on that terrible verse that reaches the same quality level as French Montana and Just Got Paid. Yeah, this just doesn't do it for me. I like the majority of singles from Every Cloud so far, but this is a total miss for me, not good. Number 48, Rhythm of the Night by MELON, Rezidential, and Dance Fruits.
This is the rhythm of my life, oh yeah. This is the rhythm of the night.
Okay, are we seriously doing this? For those of you who aren't aware, the Dance Fruit label has been running back as far as 2016. At first, it was a label that promoted underground future house acts, seemed to be mostly in the same realm as Monster Cat and NCS. However, 2020 rolls around, and in a disgustingly corporate, greedy, and money-hungry shift, owner and prominent Dutch DJ Stefan Vuk decided to turn to the oh-so-beloved slap house cover strategy, throwing away promising talent in favor of some of the most blatant cash grabs I've heard in recent memory. That's not all though. Doing some research on the label further has me realize they buy out music and fake release it under one name to quote-unquote better ride the Spotify algorithm. Yeah, I'm not kidding. The label literally buys out existing music created by smaller artists and random people, places it on their label without giving credit, and creates fake artist names like MELON and Rezidential, so the money all goes to one place, and so the algorithm considers it organic and natural growth. I mean, thank God it appears Stefan Vuk actually gives revenue to the original producer, otherwise I'd be absolutely furious over this. So we first start off with a remix of Corona's classic song Rhythm of the Night. And I'll be fair here, this is probably the best of the label's charting songs this week. I mean, the original song is so timeless that it obviously plays into my enjoyment here, but the wavering house beat is quite nice, especially with some really good synth and bass mixing that gives it some serious John Summit vibes, especially on the drops that do have a nice driving energy to them. I will say that Corona's vocals could have been mixed better here. They do feel a bit quiet on the second verse, and I definitely don't think that comes even close to the original, or even Sean Finn's club crossover that charted many years ago, but otherwise, I actually didn't mind this. It's a decent remix. Unlike number 47, Don't You Worry Child by MELON and Dance Fruits. At this point, I'm fairly convinced nobody should ever touch Don't You Worry Child. The original is a modern EDM classic, and when this remix feels as blatant a Fred again ripoff as you can get, down to the atmosphere-driven garage beat with those whinier synths on top that sound like those on Turn on the Lights Again, except without any of the attention to detail, atmosphere, or emotion that makes Fred again so special. This whole song is just poorly mixed, where the bass and percussion overpower the drops and sound dreadful, especially when you mix them alongside downright awful filler vocals that don't match John Martin in any way at all, sounding flat and incredibly annoying with their diction. So yeah, this is crap and a complete waste of time. Skip it. Number 40, Another Love by MELON and Dance Fruits.
Oh my tears, when you stood on another road, oh my tears, when you
Okay, seriously, did anybody actually ask for this? A remix of a goddamn 2013 Tom Odell song that got popular in 2022 as an anthem for the Ukrainian people during the Russian invasion. Jeez, talk about a label being tasteful in what bullshit they buy out. But yeah, this one absolutely sucks too. Taking a really nice sweet acoustic pop song and turning it into one of the most soulless, boring house songs you will hear this year. The synth production sounds really cheap, the drops have far too much empty space where the melody is weak, and the mixing is so dry that it cultivates creates no potent atmosphere at all. Combine that with vocals that are once again incredibly lazy and do not hold a candle to Tom Adele's really subtle and pretty vocal range, and you get another pile of absolute crap that should be thrown in the trash at all costs, as well as being fucking tasteless and gross. Skip this. Fuck this cover. Number 39, Hungry Heart by Steve Aoki, Galantis, and Hayley Kiyoko.
I just think about is you. Every time you leave, I always fall apart. 'Cause all I think about is you.
Okay, seriously guys, this is the third Steve Aoki song that we've given a charting position this year. Did we not learn from Hero Quest Genesis last year that nobody gives a shit? I mean, I'm fairly sure nobody actually likes that album enough to care about material attached to a possible deluxe edition, especially not one with Galantis and Hayley Kiyoko, where I don't see any staying power for this at all. I will say this with the acknowledgements, I actually kinda like this. Yes, the mixing is very odd as the production feels very compressed, where the electric guitars are so quiet and Hayley Kiyoko's vocals are given so much focus, but I actually think she sounds really solid here, and the drops are actually a bit more distinct. They kind of remind me of Galantis' 2017 era, especially with how the bass just dominates over a faster tempo and some really nice steel drum integration. Honestly sounds really cool when listening on headphones. I gotta give them credit there. Look, I'm still not a fan of Steve Aoki, but I honestly didn't mind this despite the weird mixing issues. Honestly, not a bad song. I'll take it. Number 30, Mike Des Owen Duvet by Fred Again, The Streets, and Dermot Kennedy?
Carpet, give me 1,001 nights to tell you this story, and then I'll help with the dishes.
It feels like Fred Again's now really established himself as a consistent chart presence in the States, which for me as a mega fan of his material is absolutely a good thing. This, however, definitely surprised me, not just because it features long-respected UK rapper The Streets alongside sample vocals from Dermot Kennedy, but also that it mostly appears to be a remix of a deep cut from Actual Life 3 called Berwin All That I Got Is You, which in itself was more of an extended interlude on Actual Life 3, not a single worthy track at all. What also surprised me was just how well the song works in this context, as Mike Skinner delivers a spoken word avant-garde passage discussing love and life through Arabic imagery across 5 verses, over a much heavier garage beat that definitely makes this feel more club-leaning than the original song, which was very low-key. I honestly don't have much to say about this one. It's just a goddamn gorgeous sounding song with a really unique approach that I'm still kind of amazed it was actually able to chart at all. And Dermot Kennedy's powerful sample for the hook just adds to the vibes immaculately. It may just be a remix of Berwin, but man, is it a strong one. Definitely check this track out. Fantastic stuff. Number 29, Runaway You and I by MELON and Dance Fruits. The last of the MELON debuts, and oh, for fuck's sake, they're ruining a staple of my childhood that got me into electronic music. Someone end my suffering here and now. But yeah, this blows too. The vocals are absolutely terrible and mixed horribly. The bass mixing doesn't feel like it fits at all with the original melody. The slap house beat is beyond basic, the additional melodies are unremarkable, and the entire song is so fucking dry sounding that it turns to being laughable. This sort of crap is this thing I was dreading would make a mainstream resurgence. I mean, like I said before, thank God this isn't on the tier of stealing and not paying the artist for these covers, but more than anything, this whole Dance Fruits and MELON album just screams corporate abuse more than anything. Knowing that the creative talent isn't there, and yet the blatant lies, fake artists, and excessive promotion in one format is. I hope come next week most of these fucking covers get thrown in the dumpster where they belong. Fuck off, you scummy label. I hope you all get seriously exposed by the artists you're stealing from, and the algorithm kicks your worthless garbage off their playlists. Trash! Number 16, Insanity by ILLENIUM and American Teeth.
Down, you say it's insanity, but I say that's my life.
At this point, I'm genuinely convinced that ILLENIUM's self-titled album is going to be a total shit show and easily his worst album. I mean, between the singles being wildly inconsistent with more bad than good, and the terrible performance of a lot of them, I call this album being a possible career killer for him long term. It doesn't help matters that this song with American Teeth might very well be the worst thing he's ever made. Seriously, this song is absolutely awful, completely irredeemable for me. For one, American Teeth sounds fucking dreadful. His whiny emo-leaning vocals do not work at all, especially with how slurred and badly mic'd they are, where you can't understand half of what he's saying. That's nothing though compared to this production. Seriously, this is the worst beat ILLENIUM has made to date, where the guitars sound like mush, the drums are terribly flat with barely any bass, and the drops are some of the least satisfying and most soulless things I've heard out of this genre to date. Songs like this are why ILLENIUM has such a bad rep nowadays, even by older fans, because quite frankly the quality has been swept away in favour of poorly produced garbage like this that will sell to the emo, trap and rock audiences, but that nobody wants to return to when there's better music in those genres. I guarantee you all, this will underperform considering how awful the streaming is, and this is supposedly ILLENIUM going back to his roots, taking from his inspirations. Oh, dear God, we're in for a disaster with this album, because this song is unlistenable garbage. Pass. Number 10, Here We Go Again, by Oliver Tree and David Guetta. When I was hearing the extremely negative buzz behind this song, plus seeing those names involved, I was outright dreading this. I mean, Oliver Tree hasn't escaped the gross association with the Miss You controversy, and David Guetta has continued to be absolutely awful with easily the worst song to chart in recent memory in I'm Good Blue. So is this at least a pleasant surprise? Did it beat my expectations? Well, honestly, it's not bad. I'm kind of surprised by that. Yes, Oliver Tree's vocals are as whiny as ever and the kicks on the drop are a bit too loud, but I kind of like the atmospheric touches Guetta put on this song. It's a bit bigger in sound, the drops have a much heavier club focus, and even the vocal production pushes Oliver Tree more to the back behind a ton of reverb and weirdly reminds me of the lead vocals of Empire of the Sun. Now, it's not great, I can see the vocals really souring on me over time, but for now, I didn't mind this. It's a pretty decent song, I'll take it at least. Number 9, Where You Are by John Summer and Hayla. It's almost poetic at this point that John Summer of all people gets a top 10 hit on the song with Hayla, who appeared on KX5's Escape, which John Summer himself remixed. Now, I obviously was excited for this. John Summer's been on a real streak of insane quality since Human. Hayla's an absolute powerhouse voice. Escape is easily my favourite hit song of 2022. Was this as godly as I expected? Well, yes, it somehow is. In fact, I'm gonna go on the limb and say this might be the best charting song of 2023 so far. About on par with Escape, possibly even better. There's so much about the song that I genuinely adore. It might be the song that makes John Summer into one of the best names in modern electronic music. Seriously, that rich, extremely well balanced and gorgeous tech house beat just floors me every single time. Especially with those progressive house touches like the Simpson, that insanely large sound that builds into one of the best hooks of 2023 as the mix explodes with tremendous effect. Hayla though is the real star here. Seriously, she is one of the best choices that they could have put for this beat. Her belting is some of the most impressive I've heard in recent memory, hitting the right mix of bombast and genuine emotion that you can really feel every single line she's singing. There's nothing more to say. This song is perfect in every single way. It's the perfect length, the type of sound that I genuinely have always loved, the perfect vocals to match it. There's nothing to critique here. So yeah, this could easily be a contender for the best hit song of 2023, which given the quality of this year says a lot. In the meantime, check this out. Let's pray this sticks around. This is fucking excellent. And finally, number 6, El Merengue by Marshmello and Manuel Turizo. I mean, should I be surprised with this? In the rising tide of Latin dance hits, especially with Farruko, it should be no surprise that Marshmello would hop on board this trend and produce something in this style. Bring on board Manuel Turizo, who I actually really enjoyed, especially off his big solo song La Bachata. Is this at least decent? Well, yeah, it's mostly fine too, although you can really tell this is a style that Marshmello isn't fully comfortable in just yet. The production feels a bit dry. There's some weird piano integration that doesn't sound natural next to the more organic percussion, and especially Manuel Turizo, who has the personality and presence in his voice to command this mix. And I still can't shake the feeling that this will be a one-off from Marshmello because this style is popular nowadays. It just has this really manufactured vibe to it, but still, it's mostly likable. This sort of upbeat party music has its place, especially as a mood booster. This is a likable enough song, I'll take it. But yeah, wow, this week absolutely sucked. Just so much mediocre to outright detestable stuff all around, where even the decent songs will not get as much praise in any other week. For worst, yeah, Another Love by Melon and Dan Fruits is absolute garbage. garbage and completely fucking distasteful, but I'm actually going to give it a tie for worst with Insanity by ILLENIUM and American Teeth. Both these songs are absolute embarrassments and deserve to flop at all costs because they're fucking awful. This Honourable Runner-Up is also going to MELON and Dance Fruits with Runaway, You and I, and given the low streams, I hope it free falls too. Thank God John Summer and Fred again came through to effectively save this week, with Where You Are with Hayla getting the best comfortably, and Mike Desert Island Duvet with the Streets and Dermot Kennedy as the Honourable Runner-Up. Next week, dear God, I'm expecting some serious shake-up thanks to that new Calvin Harris single. Let's hope it plus several other songs knock these MELON covers out as soon as possible. Jesus fucking Christ. But yeah, that's all for this episode of the Analysis of Dance. See you next time.